Morning, my friend. I'm not wrong.
Good morning.
You say you're running a little late. That, like I said, traditionally that's just 2 minutes. That
Yeah,
literally.
especially for this summer, it's a lot of my mentees are wanting to do early workouts or stuff like that, and I just got to make sure I get it home in time and at least get some oatmeal in me and another cup of coffee. I'm out of milk right now, so I have to go to the grocery store.
Whoa, you're
Oh,
out.
I
You're
know. I
out of.
ran out. I ran out last night on my cereal right before bed. I don't know how many adults do that, but I always have cereal before bed. I don't know. That's how I've always done that.
When did that start?
Always as a kid. Always cereal before bed.
Huh?
Yeah.
So what does that mean that you get to sleep in a little bit, considering that you had breakfast before you get to go to bed? You get to skip.
Well, I mean, not necessarily like right before bed. I would say like I'm always the type of person that after like a dinner, I always need something that's like I guess you could say sweet.
Uh-huh.
So I'll always I guess instead of doing like a chocolate cake or something like that, I'll do a bowl of cereal usually to kind of top it off.
So what kind of? Well, see, now you're taunting people with the cereal. What kind of cereal? If you don't do chocolate or anything like that, so what kind of cereal? Are we talking like Fruity Pebbles or actually something healthy?
No, I'll do the Special K vanilla almond.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Because when I would do cereal consistently before I was told that I had an actual physical allergy to milk, I would do like the strawberry Special K.
Okay. Yeah. Like the strawberry flakes or whatever. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so
Yeah,
that's
good.
yeah, and so that's what I ended up. That's what I would end up doing there instead of all of that. And then I just decided, but I'm not a chocolate guy anyway.
I'm a huge sweet guy. I mean, if I feel like I'm on a cheat day, then if I feel like I've just been worn out all day, I'll steal some of my kids' cereal, which is like the cinnamon toast crunch, the Lucky Charms, the Reese's Puffs,
Oh
the
man.
Oreo O's. That is one thing, man, that I missed every other country that I ever lived in, rather than the United States. And every time I'd see like an American or another American play or anything, we'd always talk about cereal, man.
Why didn't you? What you could have had it like mailed to the team, couldn't you?
I should have, but I mean, I was just so used to being somewhere else to where just cereal is not a part of other places in the world, which is quite interesting.
That is weird. You mentioned getting up bright and early with mentees. How early are we talking here? And is that something that surprised you about this particular generation, where they're up and at 'em at like the crack of before dawn 30? It's like 5:30 in the morning. I want to have a discussion. How early are we talking? And is this a surprise to you?
No, this is more like workouts. This is more workouts. The kids that are in off season want to get a workout in physically. It's not actually part of our mentorship, but it's just more so kids that I guess are kind of in that phase to where they maybe don't want to focus so much on the mental side because they're out of season,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they want to find a way to put in the work. And I guess for me, it's one of those questions to where when they ask me, I can't say no, man. I'm like, all right, well, I'm a go getter to work out myself and be in really good shape. So if, if feel free to come by, and if you can keep up, that's totally fine. But that's yeah, it's surprising. There are very few kids. There are very few kids that have the ability and I guess you could say will and want and desire to wake up at a specific time.
If you can keep up, I mean, how many of them come close? Or is everybody just like after 5 minutes, they just sit there and find a towel and sit there?
No, there's I don't think there's a kid. It's always funny that with most of my mentees, and when we'll mess around sometimes, and we'll add in a ball or do some games and stuff like that, and just kind of in our rest periods and all that kind of stuff. But it'll be interesting because at times I'll actually kind of let them think that they're doing really great, and then I'll switch it on or I'll turn it on and just be like, man, I'm sorry, man. This is what you got to get to, right? It's my mom never. I think we've had that conversation. My mom never used to let me win in anything, man. So I have that same mentality with my kids as well and mentees as well.
So when was the first time that you beat your mom legit?
I don't think I could beat my mom in a race until I was like 15 or 16 years
Oh,
old.
wow.
So she was always really athletic.
Okay.
And
That's
I see somebody from the comments. No, I am not going to TST. I've gotten asked by Clint Dempsey, by
Really?
DeMarcus Beasley, by the two teams here in Atlanta, Zala in Miami, I think every team.
Really?
I can't, man. I can't.
Well, but I mean,
My body, it can't do it anymore.
well, but I think that as a realization as an athlete, I think that's huge that you can sit there and go like, that you've got that realization. You're like, nope, I can't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean,
Well,
I would think,
the health insurance is also a big part of it as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I mean, it's like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and you get to keep your rate. But I
Yes,
mean, I would think that for athletes, that's got to be one of the toughest things to realize, despite everything that you might have gone through, all the injuries, all the pushing, all
right.
of the working out. That it's just like, no, I
Yeah,
can't do it anymore.
if anybody wants to kick a ball around, I'm always free to do so, but not to play at a competitive level, to where it's because I do think there are some kids and some guys that are going that are like thinking it's going to be fun, but then on the other side, there are a lot of teams there that go for the main part of it, right? To not because of entertainment, but to try and win the money.
They're
So,
trying to win that $1,000,000,
yeah,
man.
yep,
And they're not going to sit there. Look, if they need to get stuck in a tackle for $1,000,000, they're going to get stuck in a tackle for $1,000,000.
most definitely.
You mentioned putting away the mental aspect of it for younger athletes. How difficult is that for them, and to remind them it's okay to put it to the side for a little bit? Because I would imagine that they're so geared up in trying to get to that next achievement, whatever it is, to remind them it's okay to shut it down a little bit so you don't burn it out in your quest for whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, the mental component is still there, right? Because and I tell people all the time that to me everything is mental, because the mental component is still there, because what they're doing right now is getting better. Right? They're putting in that work, and that work, wanting to put in that work and creating that discipline uh, outside of what you're usually accustomed to is still coming from up here, right? Nobody's telling you, you have to do this or you need to do this. These are very few kids that are making that decision. I need to do this to get better. So it's still kudos to them in regard to understanding how important the mental aspect still is, even in your time off.
And so when you try to impress upon them it's okay, it's cool to take time off, do they believe you at first because they're so driven?
Yeah, I mean, man, to be honest, it's Parky always talks about it as well. It's a 24/7 athlete mindset, right? It's 365 days of the year. Even that time off and even that rest component, it's still a part of your job,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's all about like we've talked about it before, the self-regulation and finding a balance and control. For me, I was the type of player that in off season I would take a week or maybe close to 10 days to where I would just completely relax, still probably kick the ball around with the kids and do certain things like that. But then after that, it was boom, back into it. So I don't know, 10 days a year, 10
Okay.
days a year to where I didn't focus on what my main goals were.
But how difficult is that, though? I would imagine that you're trying to sit there and, you don't want somebody sneaking up behind you. How difficult is it to detach?
I think after a long season, it's actually quite easy to get away from the game, right? You just got to go somewhere to where there is nothing around you, and just kind of focus on what's in front of you, kind of live in that present
What,
moment.
like Mars? I mean, this day and age, man, you got to go someplace really obscure to check out.
Yeah, I think beach is always good, because you can still touch a ball for fun, but it has no I mean, then again, I mean, if I were to go to a beach, I'd probably still wake up early in the morning and still run the beach, right? So, I think you're just always driven. It's that mindset shift that you're always driven to be better. I think that's the athlete's mindset.
How long did it take you to develop that mindset fully, where you understood A, what you needed to do, B, your limits, C, balance them both, and D, still accomplish what you wanted to accomplish?
Man, that's a hard question, John. I think from the very get go, as a little boy, that's something that I always give the example of, for most kids and most soccer players, and this might be everyone, but not everyone's like this. But most every kid that I always talk to, I always tell them, look, in a way, you've always wanted to be a leader, right, for yourself or for others.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will be like, no, I'm a follower, right? I don't know how to lead. And I always take them back to kindergarten, right? And I'll be like, in kindergarten, did you want to be the line leader to take everybody to lunch? And every kid's answer is always yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so in one way or another, they do know what it is to lead. They do know what it is to want to lead. So I think sometimes it's helping them understand that kind of be first mentality, not the Ricky Bobby be first or be last,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think of just like the be first of understanding that, hey, if there's a moment to where I can raise my hand and lead warm-ups, I'm going to do it. If there's a moment to where I can work a little bit extra on my own, I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to do it, right? It's the cliche thing to say that, whatever you're doing, just expect somebody else is doing something a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
I mean, and the whole idea of following and leading, I think that there are times where we are leading and we don't know it at the time. I think there are those moments where, we just dive into a situation and it ends up being an experience for us where we do end up taking the lead instead of following along. And maybe there's a realization later that you're better at something for moments like that than you would have been otherwise for not taking that chance of finally sitting there saying, yeah, I can lead in a situation like this. I guess that there are moments where you do have those kinds of realizations at times.
most definitely. Yeah. I always tell people, I think even for myself, I was much more of a silent leader, right? Led by action, led by example, rather than being the vocal type of person.
I mean, silent leaders, those are the ones I think that can be the ones that almost make the most impact because you're silent, but then when you do speak up, everybody sits back and it's like, whoa, Greg actually, Greg said something. And so I think it has that much more import than it might be if you are the kind of individual that wants to sit there and be in folks' faces and sit there and yell and sit there and point fingers and go, you do this, you do this, you do this. I think the silent leaders probably can make more of an impact when they do speak up than otherwise.
Yeah, I think I even just talk about the contagious, right? The contagiousness that has, right? When somebody is leading by action and example, it just creates that contagiousness effect for everybody else around.
Greg Garza of Beyond Goals Mentoring hanging out with us here as our friends from at BG Mentoring on the Twitters do every Friday, that they're not globetrotting and checking on the planet and making sure that we're all heading in the same direction when it comes to mentoring and mentors and mentees and impacting the next generation. I finally remembered. I wanted to talk to you about your work with the ICA.
Yes.
And when did they first approach you to be one of those individuals to have these kinds of conversations with other professional athletes?
It was just a text from Luis Robles, who is the head of MLS Next and former New York Red Bull captain and goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. I think there was probably myself and a few others that were kind of on the bubble of just being involved and having somewhat of a good knowledge around what the league is all about in regard to understanding diversity. I mean, given my background of living all over the world and being trilingual and understanding different cultures and kind of I think it just shows for itself. And every team that I played on, it was just bringing people together that were from other places. I feel like I was probably that glue in a lot of the teams that I played for. Uh, when there was even in Tijuana, when there was a Brazilian that came in, it was like he was next to me the whole entire time, just trying to kind of adapt and get acclimated with the new environment. It was me with Atlanta United, every single Latin player, and just kind of understanding, giving them the, um, the what it truly stands for, right? The cultural awareness of what it's like to be in a different area that you're not used to or accustomed to, and how quickly can you get acclimated. Life is very different. Our life in the States is very different from a lot of other places. So it was just a simple text from Luis of just being on the bubble of having that opportunity and them showing interest. And I mean, like I said, I raised my hand. I said, sure, I would love to be a part of something like this. I think even Luis, myself, and Diego Valeri actually have a panel here in Atlanta in July, something about something similar. So it'll be myself, Luis, and Diego Valeri that will do a panel next month. Um, I'm not sure. I believe it's with the league, and I'm not sure with whatever else it is, but it'll be in the middle of July. Continuing on the good work of ICA and kind of how the league has benefited from it as well.
Okay, so I jumped the gun a little bit. You and I know what ICA means, but there are those that are in the Twitch pitch this morning, like Dell down in Charleston, who want to know what the ICA actually stands for and what it does.
Intercultural awareness. It's a program that is helping players with all diverse cultures, nationalities, backgrounds, helping the whole entire league acclimate to serve as one. Unfortunately, there were a lot of racial injustices and racial slurs and other racial incidents that happened, and that happens all around us every single day, right? But unfortunately, there were more than a few that had happened or have happened in the league for the past few years, that have been reported. And so it was a way for us to jump in and really help guide new players that are getting into the league, or just help kind of create a different understanding for a lot of the teams during their preseason, to understand what is expected of them as a professional, what is expected of them as a human being, what is expected of them, of understanding the differences of cultures, things that you can say, things that you can't say, how to act, how to serve as you have a social responsibility that is automatically attached to you. Because, I think a lot of guys and a lot of players, and this goes for all sports, sometimes you come from an upbringing or a background that, creates some form of resilience within you, but there's sometimes that educational background of what others have gone through, or what others, you know, in regard to respect, how to respect others, sometimes is not there. So, it's just to educate. And I guess that's the best way to put it, just to educate about the diverse cultures that are within the league, because I believe there are over, what we said there. I can look back at the decks, but I want to say there's over 97 different backgrounds within the league of MLS. So 97 different countries represented within one league is the most by any other professional sports league that exists in the world. There is no other diverse league than the MLS.
Do you get to have these kind of conversations with your mentees about being aware of other cultures and their mores and their beliefs and things like that, or is it something that is outside of the mentor purview, but that you end up having casual conversations outside of your mentoring?
Yeah, I would say more so on like the nonprofit work that I do, and kind of speaking to schools or the Boys and Girls Clubs, or going and speaking to Title I schools, because you see a lot of diversity.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas Whereas I think in the mentorship with what we do, we really try and custom tailor it to what that kid is currently going through, or what they are coping or trying to just build off of within their own journey. So usually the cultural background usually is not, commented about or spoken about as we're speaking about soccer specific things or sports specific mindset things. Whereas when I walk into a Title I school in Atlanta, I see every race, color, background, language, and just so many different things. And I think that is the great opportunity for me to use my ICA training within those environments, within those circumstances, because it gives me an opportunity to kind of just really be an advocate for equality, and just help these kids start to look around and start to realize, because I love doing it, because usually I don't think anybody probably speaks to those kids about those things. They don't really look around and really see, okay, wow, there's a lot of different faces, a lot of different cultures, races, colors. And so it's fun for me to do it in those environments.
I was going to ask, when you get to have these kinds of conversations, and I mean, with age groups, I imagine that the tenor, the way that your presentation is probably a little different when it comes to discussing, okay, equality and diversity and all these different things. I imagine that the conversations are different for younger folks than they are for older folks when it comes to having these conversations with, Title I school situations. But I would think that being at the forefront of something like this, as you are, and you get the chance to do, it's got to be humbling to have these kinds of conversations where you can be at the forefront and introduce these ideas to folks. It's like, look, they're just like you. Trust me. And you get to widen their perspectives, and you get to make that impact early on in their lives.
Yeah, I think from even what you just said right there, I think being a professional or even a former professional athlete, you have, and you and I have talked about this before. You have a specific platform,
Right.
and I think it's a platform of and I use this word a lot with people. It's just a platform of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think if any other person would walk in there and give them a speech about just race in general and just understanding the different cultures, most people would be like, this guy doesn't have the credibility to speak to us about these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think sometimes going into a situation, I think that's kind of the beauty about me living all over the world and speaking so many different languages, and being a Mexican American, and being somebody who has been able to flourish within both places, right? Have that experience within both cultures that I've been a part of within my life. So I think it gives me that amount of credibility to even step in and have those conversations with the league itself,
Yeah.
right? And I think even going into the different clubs, in the MLS, and then like speaking with people who I hadn't seen in years and speaking Spanish to them with fluent Spanish as if I was one of them, and then seeing a Brazilian or a Portuguese guy that I hadn't seen in years and then speaking to them. And I think just that respect right there around the room, they're like, holy crap. All right. This guy's been around. Right. So, I think it just allows that credibility to be able to speak about those things that sometimes are hard topics,
Yeah.
really hard topics to speak about. So, but it's more of just creating just eye-opening experiences for a lot of these kids, and even for like the MLS teams. There's some things that I've seen within my career that I'd never could have imagined I would have ever witnessed. So I get to share those experiences and share those kind of facts to them to help them understand, okay, this issue is real, right? This issue is real, and it does happen in our day-to-day lives. And we have a social responsibility and a platform to try and not change a person, but just help people view things in a different lens.
Yeah, you get to widen their perspectives and let them know about what's going on in their own world that they may not necessarily know about. Dell is asking what you're reading these days and what you're watching these days, and I will cater that to help you with your mentoring and the advice that you give and the manners in which you do it. What are you reading and what are you watching?
As of right now, I am not reading anything.
Marky's turned into the big reader.
Yeah, Parky is the huge reader, man. He is a massive reader. I don't I tell my parents all the time, I just don't have time. I don't have time. I'm such a workhorse and I'm such like a go-getter and I'm obsessed with always working that I feel like I'm always doing something. I'm like, if I have 15 minutes here, okay, I'll have 15 minutes to work on this. And I stink at that because I want to learn. I now know 4 notes how to play on the guitar, and I want to learn the guitar this summer.
Okay.
That's something that I've always wanted to learn, but like I did it for 2 weeks straight and then I stopped. So I need to stay consistent with that again. And even if it's before going to bed, I think when I walk on like a stair stepper or when I'm like cycling in the gym, I'm still on like the treble, the Man City treble. I'm still in the middle of that right now, which is really cool to watch. And what else? Yeah, nothing. Well, I just watched the Mavs kick Minnesota's ass last night, which was great. Luka went on a tear. So, and hopefully, and then I'll watch the Stars tonight. I'm a Dallas kid. It's a good time to be a Dallas kid, man. Texas Rangers won everything last year. Dallas, hopefully they can pull off. Boston sucks in the finals anyway. They always make it there, and then they suck anyway. So we'll see how good. We'll see how good Tatum really. When Tatum always gets these points, and then he just folds. And I think Luka is made for the spotlight, man.
Well, are we going to talk about your Cowboys? Everybody else.
No, you can't talk about the Cowboys, man.
Everybody else has won something in that market, and it's been forever since
Cowboys. God, the '90s. I was still a little kid, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And Jerry Jones was still the owner. And
I know that. He will be until his dying days, man.
And then Steven will take over, the number one son. You mentioned it off the top, but what's going on at Beyond Goals these days?
Same old, man. Just continue to try and make connections and relationships with a lot of great people, and we're always trying to whip up something new, right? So a lot of ideas within that.
Loving it. Thanks as always, my friend, for hopping on and letting everybody know what's going on and letting everybody understand what's going on inside the brain of Greg Garza when it comes to our friends and helping out the next generation at Beyond Goals Mentoring. It's always great to see you, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks for having me, man. We'll catch up soon. Take care. Have a good weekend, bud.
All right, you too. That's Greg.